Alors, j'ai l'impression que l'event n'est pas encore complètement commencé. Donc, je ne le vois pas sur LinkedIn.
Je vois live de 22 secondes.
Je vais regarder ce qui se passe. Dans 22 secondes, toi, tu vois live.
Non, je vois déjà, on est déjà live. Moi, je vois ça.
Oui, mais je ne le vois pas sur LinkedIn. Ça y est! Super! Ouf.
On est live.
Et voilà, we are live. Excellent. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to have you here online for this very exciting session. I am Florence Dombricourt. I help leaders and teams building capacity for the future, and I'm thrilled to bring you this series, Self-Leadership Habits for Leaders. Self-leadership, it's also something called personal leadership. It is our capacity to lead ourselves and influence our behavior and environment. And we have many ways to do that, way more power to influence our behavior than we actually think. And this series is going to be about exploring habits to actually do that. Now, the recipe for the series is very simple. One episode, one theme, one guest, all mixed up together for an inspiring conversations. Do feel free to ask questions as we go along. I will keep an eye on them and we will address some of them during the conversations. With Massimo, we will cover what remain of the question offline by using LinkedIn. Now, my guest today is Massimo Borio. Massimo is an international executive coach working from Italy with an impressive set of language skills, and is also a true passionate to move people to the next level. Good morning, Massimo, and welcome to this series.
Good morning, Florence. First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me and to open your amazing program that you have settled down. So today, I'm very pleased to be the first one and to start your amazing project. Thank you.
Excellent. So let's get right in, Massimo.
Yes.
What on earth do we call stepping back?
Okay. I would love to open with a quote of David Peterson. David Peterson was one of the greatest coach in the world of coaching. And you and I, we had the great opportunity to work with him and to see how he conduced the coaching session and his capability to work with the clients. And one of his major quotes that I love, it's leaders don't learn from experience, they learn from reflecting on the experience. And the main quote, main word is reflecting, because it's a powerful truth in leadership. It's not enough to simply move forward. Leaders gain insight by pausing to reflect on their experience, because without stepping back, the action risks becoming automatic, reactive, and very often misaligned with larger goals. I see in our day-to-day work that the reflection, stepping back, it's very important, it's very useful, and it opens a wide angle of perspective, a new way of approaching work, teams, life as well. So that is why reflecting is very important.
So for me, when I hear reflecting, I'm always thinking of looking back. But here you mentioned things about, it's important for, you were talking about organization, about how people work together. And that brings for me another thinking behind stepping back that I often see missing is the capability to use this to become proactive.
Yeah.
I like the idea, before we jump somewhere, usually we take a step back to get some momentum and then we can jump.
Yes.
So do you also use with your clients stepping back as something to stop and look at what is happening?
Really, it's one of the first things that happens to work with, even from the first session. I mean, why stepping back? It's very crucial today because we living in very focused productivity world, and leaders are very expected to be constantly on. But reality is that to truly lead efficiently, we need time to think and resign and realign. um, After what happened yesterday, it sees and it shows that the challenges are more and more complex and interconnected. So it doesn't just require to just an action to make an action, but you have to be really going and forward and learning and stepping back to learn exactly what is the right question, right actions. Because we are working now in a very rapid world of change of technologies, dynamics, and market demands. I have clients who deals with teams around the world or also just in Europe. And stepping back, it's important because you have to understand what are people telling you and what are the different movement that is around your company around the world. So it's very important to step back because otherwise you are trapped in a world of action, action, action.
I really like that. I I would agree that there is not a single interaction I have either with a leader or with a team that we do not approach this notion of stepping
Yeah.
back and at looking at what is happening. And also this notion that if we do not do that, we actually keep being like the hamster in a wheel, and we keep running. The head is going straight into something, action, action, solution, solution, without even knowing if the solution that we are about to implement is actually the one we need, because we did not do that step back, that
Yeah.
small exercises.
And funny things that we were talking about this series, and when you told me that you want to do the stepping back, it's like the world is aligning. So in this last few days, I had few clients, and we talk about stepping back. And I can quote them because I had yesterday a conversation with an HR, a very important company in Italy, and she said, "Oh, in my company, it's more important to do than to think." That is really something that is going the pressure. The company is putting the pressure on output without reflection, and of course acting just like we have to find the solution. Oh my God, I have to find the solution before tomorrow. It's going to You're going to take action that could be misaligned with the strategies in the long terms or in a few months. That's one solution. And the other fact that I have yesterday, this is vice president of an international company. He said, "I'm a victim of my Outlook calendar," and
Oh,
that I find it absolutely perfect for today, because more and more people and leaders and vice presidents, CEO, managers, they are drained by Outlook calendar. I mean, it seems that they work from 9 to 6, just going from one meeting to another meeting, and then they start working after 6, and that is going to change the life with personal life. It needs to get to have few time to think about it, but working one step, one meeting after a meeting, it's not working efficiently. It's just emptying, fooling your time, and you don't do any
so
stepping back.
so we do have a lot of the confirmation from what as the synchronicity of the past few days that is giving us, yes, this is a really important theme.
Yes.
And by hearing our exchange, and feel free the audience to ask any question or bring your thoughts into the chat. But I hear that there is these two aspects, that there is the aspect of stepping back as looking back because we want to reflect on experiences, learn something from it. And there is this aspect of stepping back, a bit more like going up at the balcony to look at everything and be able to take actions. And and there is already something that is coming up that is seems to disturb stepping back, is this notion of time.
Yes.
And I know time is really an element that is always in every single session. How can we create time? But here, there's something I was thinking of this morning, but interesting, is even firefighting teams or crisis team, they will always take a moment to step back before they move into actions, because that stepping back moment is about observing the situation, taking on board everything from the situation and the context to actually make sure they go with the right strategy and the right actions. So now we got a better idea of what is stepping back. Let's start to how can we implement that habit. We know it's highly beneficial. That's something that's really helped people. We understand from the comment of your VP that if we get that habit on, we actually stop being a victim of our Outlook calendar, but
Yeah.
we can become the master of the Outlook calendar. So let's explore how can we start implementing this habit of stepping back. And what could also implementing that habit could disturb in our perceptions.
Right. I must tell you one thing, Florence. I'm working. I love to work with the people and companies, and having been an executive for more than 30 years, I know which how the pressure, how they have to find solution. You are very always focusing on executing time. So for me, and working with the clients, the time is very, very important. But you have to, and I always try to be very proactive and productive for them. So I just like make you an example of how do you think about how can you introduce your stepping back in your day life, and making just an experiment and looking around yourself, looking about what you really like to do. For me, it's important. I'm talking about, for instance, tennis, sport. I'm a huge fan of tennis, and I'm a huge fan of tennis. And I must admit that during this day with Yannick Sinner, number one, it's very easy to win. But it's very easy for me to also to listen to the press conference after the match. And not only him, but all the players, all the greatest players have conference after the match. And that is a perfect example of what does it mean stepping back. Because when they are in the press conference room, the journalists are going to ask, how was the match? What do you feel? How was your sensation? Which is the turning point of the match? What would you think when he replied or he won the second match, was the second set? So these are really questions that we can ask ourselves and learn from the stepping back of the tennis player or every kind of sports, because you understand what was the match, and you can do it whenever you want. I mean, yeah, I invite all the leaders to do it as stepping back, as see the day, what could have been done differently, because you can stop there and analyzing, and this is going to really give a different perception, as we said before.
So
Do you
like
agree with that?
it would be like setting up some time every day as you stop here now and you pause, or finding a way to incorporate something where you know when you do that you give yourself time to pause, maybe.
Yes, correct, correct. You don't have to think
Every
about stepping back. Sorry, you don't have to think stepping back. Oh, I have to be there and take half an hour, take 1 hour, or whatever. It just needs 5, 10 minutes. It depends on what you're stepping back, but it's just
I
pausing.
like that. I like that because a lot of people have this conception that stepping back is highly time consuming, that it's about an hour session, it's about long conversation. When I question a lot of leaders I've been working with, when they implement stepping back, they do it with very short timing.
Yes,
And sometimes it's more to facilitate some of their habits. Some of them have been using the fact of using specific moment during their day when they can actually transform that moment into something like stepping back. So I know people like me running, we use running as a lot of platforms sometimes to just
yeah,
disconnect about the hamster wheel and use that time when we run to actually think. Now, it's not always a good idea because that's sometimes how you end up with like a sprained ankle. But I know also some people I've been working with, they've been using time from when they leave work. They do have time in transportation. They would use that time in transportation specifically to step back. So they forbid themselves from using their mobile phone during that time. and they pause and they ask themselves questions. And once that's the question asked, they can take their mobile phone to write if there is anything they need to write. So that would be one way they've been doing it. So here we are mixed between sharing tips and thinking about implementing a habits.
Yes.
So I'm going to just highlight one thing here. The tips, they are what can power the habits. The habit is the intentions. And if you try something for a week, like doing the stepping back when you are in your shower in the morning or in the evening, and you see that after a week it doesn't work, try another tips, but keep the habit of giving yourself 5 minutes sometimes just to be able to do it. What
Correct.
else would you, yeah, what else would you
Well,
like to share?
I want to add something when you said before to when you said the importance of going from dance floor to the balcony. This is a very important concept because if you stay on the dance floor with all the other manager moving around to find solution, you don't exactly move anywhere. You're just seeing around. It's like going to be like on the treadmill, running on the treadmill. You're just running, but you don't go anywhere. So if you go from the dance floor to the balcony, you have a different perception. And I would add another very important quote. It's slow down to move fast. This is very important because when you do slow down, it's going to see something and you realize which is the best path, which is the right direction, which is it could be in the next move. And yeah, okay. And one important thing is that this happening in our conversation and with the clients that most of the time, sometimes it's not most of the time, but sometimes the clients just finish meetings and they come into the session. And I said, no. You have to step back. So you breathe, like 2 minutes, and then we start. And then they finish and they enter in the new meetings. This doesn't work.
And it's amazing how often actually people work with us to have that moment to step back because they have this agreement with us and there is this commitment and that help them to do it. So to help implementing that habit, you can actually find what we call a commitment buddies.
Yeah.
That is, you find someone like you that want to implement the stepping back, and you can check with each other on a regular basis that you actually do your stepping back. But listening to you, there was something really nice that popped up into my head in terms of helping us to implement the habit is the use of language. We're talking, you can step on the balcony to look at what is happening. I often hear the sentence, I'm just taking a pause on the side bench to look at what is passing.
Yeah.
Or I want to step back to look at the big picture, or I'm zooming out. So one way that could help is probably to introduce into our languages specific expression that we know is going to help us to do that stepping back. It could actually be something quite simple, I guess.
That's very interesting.
Just coming out. It's the beauty of conversation when one idea springs from another one.
Yeah, that's
Now
nice.
we're coming close to the end, so we hope no question from the audience so far. So that means we may have said something that is interesting for you, or maybe you were a bit too shy to ask your questions. That's okay. You're going to have some other opportunity to exchange on this series. You'll have another one next week, and every Thursday, 11:30 until the December 5th, which will end up the end of our first episode. Now, to wrap up briefly, I'm completely passionate about step leadership, the tougher champions. I really see step leadership as a tool, a capability we develop that can help us to drive changes and help us to build capacity for the future. So there is possibility to support you and your organizations. Individual coaching, development program, team coaching, speaking interventions. Do feel free to book a discovery call to assess what would create the highest impact for you. Thank you a lot for your presence today, for being here with us. And I'll see you next week for sure with my next guest, Huda Belenjoum. And this time we're going to talk about how to implement habits as leader to enable smartness around us. And here again, we're going to focus on self-leadership habits to help us enable smartness around us in our workplace. Looking forward to see you next week. Ciao.
Thank you so much, Florence. Bye.